What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the LHDX fiasco and whether or not stock investors just got screwed. Whether you've been in the stock with yours truly or you're thinking about chasing it on Monday morning, this video is for you. So go ahead, pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, ice cold beer, glass of wine, whiskey on a big rock. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, I'm still screwing around with my podcast station. It's been quite an adventure. Nothing is perfect. We all know that. But I am enjoying the possibility. And last night about 1 o'clock in the morning, after I got done stewing over LHDX events after hours, more on that in a second, I had a bit of an epiphany. And you're going to start to see me do, let's say in the next week or two, what they now call mini podcasts that are 10 or 15 minutes or less, because the major shows like Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, etc., those are 2 or 3 hours long. I have no interest in doing that. You have no interest in listening or even watching that. So if you'd like some short mini video podcasts where I run down the main events of the day, including stocks like LHDX that we currently own or owned, then stick around. The best is yet to come. But I want to lay the groundwork before we get into this fiasco, because it is a fiasco. Full discretion. I've been trading the stock market for 30 years. Half that time, I was a broker, mostly in South Florida. I own my own firm, at least a franchise of it, for about 7 years in Delray Beach, Florida. I've done tens of thousands of trades. I've gone bankrupt twice. The biggest, of course, was in 2008 during the Great Recession. In other words, I've made all the mistakes. I've made and lost all the money that most of you could ever imagine. And what happened on Friday night, in my opinion, is a fiasco. And there's some people that are about to get screwed, because I can promise you they're lining up the bags as we speak. They're lining up the bags. If you guys remember, if you've been following me on Twitter for more than a year, where last year we 8x'd your money, at one point it was up 1,600%. Yes, $1,000 last year, about 6 months ago, was worth 16 grand. 10 grand would have got you 160. We, at the time, were on fire. We had 27 winners in a row. And if you remember, I said we should leave the casino right now. We should pack our bags and call it quits. Oh, come on, man. Oh, come on. Hey, give it to me. Give it to me. What's next? What's next, right? You remember? Most people will never, including myself, be able to leave the casino forever. So I knew at the time we were going to give a huge chunk back. There's always what's called a reversion to the mean, and here we are. But LHDX, and this is just my opinion, and I've reached out to the company, and I welcome the CEO, who according to the 10Q is also fired in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy by April 15th. I welcome a response, but I'm going to give you the facts as I see them and tell you exactly what I would do on Monday morning if I owned the stock. Last week, I think it was Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Lucira Health, LHDX, they came public a couple years ago. This was a pandemic play. They doubled and quadrupled their revenue, and at one point they were profitable. But suddenly, in the last 6 months, as the pandemic and the C word officially goes away, according to the CDC in May of this year, their business model crumbled. And for some reason, they're insolvent, or at least we thought they were. So anyway, they file a 10Q on Tuesday or Wednesday. And if you read it as I did, it's on my Twitter wall at TrySmallBiz. It says that everyone, including the CEO of the company, is fired, is going to be let go as of April the 15th. And while they do say in the 10Q that they're trying to sell the company, anyone that's been through a 7 or 11 knows the common stakeholders, the shareholders like you and me, we're the last ones to get paid. 2 examples that we actually traded in the last year, EVFM and ENDP, both of which have a Q, which is bankrupt, on their symbol right now. Those 2 stocks, I believe, are 3 cents and 9 cents respectively. In other words, they are lining up the bags. What I expect to happen on Monday is dumb retail money. The same dumb retail money that sold the stock in a panic on Thursday and Friday as low as 11 cents is going to be buying it back, maybe 50, 60, or 75. But if you're smart, and some of you are, you're going to be selling every effing share into that strength because something tells me this was a setup. They release a 10Q. Everyone's going to be let go by April 15th. Maybe they sell the company, but chances are it's another EVFM or ENDP in the making. In other words, a company that's going to ultimately be worthless. And if you followed the FDA as I have, owning dozens, if not hundreds at this point, biostocks over the last 30 years, you know they give you a heads up. They let you know when to expect good or bad news. So my question to the CEO, and I've written them and gotten no response back, although I will give credit to the person that's running investor relations. They did send me a copy and paste of the 10Q, but there was no explanation as to what's really going on. So my question to the CEO of LHDX, Lucira Health, is this. Why didn't you, in your doom and gloom statement that you put out on Thursday, explaining the Chapter 11, why didn't you say in there, we currently have an application in with the FDA for a flu kit. It's able to detect the C word as well as regular flu. If we get a positive ruling from the FDA, here's exactly what it could mean to the company. Did he do that? No. His statement, and it's quite long-winded on Thursday, that accompanied the explanation on the 10Q that was submitted the day or two prior, gives you the impression it's over. And that's why the stock sold off down to 12 cents. And despite a couple of rallies to 18 or 19, it closed on Friday at 14 cents. Because they gave you absolutely no help, or hope, I should say, that they were going to emerge from this bankruptcy successful. So they didn't tell you whether or not there was even an application in. That certainly would have affected my, along with some of your expectations as to what to do with the stock. And if he's going to sit there and say, well, I couldn't talk about that, first of all, bullshit, because you could have also said, but if we get a negative ruling from the FDA, and that's possible, it's curtains. It's all over. We are done. What we said in the 10Q in terms of letting everyone go by April 15th and being Chapter 11 is now official. They said none of that. So here's what I think. And full disclaimer, this is my opinion. I'm not the Holy Grail, but I've been around the fucking block long enough to know a rat when I smell one. If it walks like a duck, as the saying goes, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So here's what I think happened. There was a tiny amount of insider selling in the last week or two. Tiny amount. So they filed Chapter 11, knowing that this FDA application may in fact have already gotten wind or even had it in their possession, was going to be positive. But the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the investors that brought him public a couple of years ago that own the stock much higher. By the way, I believe the IPO price was $17 or it traded at $17. So obviously at 12 cents, talk about getting bent over the desk without any lube whatsoever. They were screwed. So they came up with a concoction, in my opinion, where, you know what? We're going to sandbag this announcement from the FDA. We're going to put out the Chapter 11. We're going to make it sound like, with the CEO's statement, that it's over. It's curtains. You're going to lose most, if not all, your money. But we're going to drop that news release from the FDA after hours on a Friday, when all the naked short sellers are already at happy hour. And believe me, I wanted to be there. I was so livid, not because I got fired again from a premium member who panicked in LHDX. Someone calls me on the phone and says, how could you get me into a stock that's going bankrupt? I said, hang in there. He said, F you. He fired me. He canceled his premium membership only, ironically, a few hours later to watch the stock not double, not triple, but quadruple from the lows. In fact, if you watch the video that I put out yesterday afternoon, I covered not once but twice in that video how I would trade, and I called it a gamble, LHDX. I said it was a buy at 12 cents or thereabouts. I said it was probably going to make a run into the 20s, and boy, did it. But if it closed below 12, it's probably headed to a nickel. Watch the video. Some of you got on board with me, at least for a small trade. And as I explained in the after hours, when it ran through 12, I had not seen the official news announcement with respect to the FDA. So I said they must be goosing it again. It's late Friday night. I've seen it a million times. When they can't short the stock anymore and they think there's dumb retail money that's willing to buy into the move, they'll start moving it. So when it got into the mid-20s, I pulled the ripcord on the day trade, and I ultimately got out of the stock that I owned at 28.5 cents. I went from a 56 or there percent drawdown, paper loss, to an official 56% profit realized. Just like that. And you could have, if you bought just a tiny amount of stock, based on my recommendation in the video yesterday, you could have quadrupled your money because it hit 46 cents at the high after hours with about an hour to go before the 8 p.m. close East Coast time. In other words, if you're in XELA and BBIG and GMBL like I am, that one trade could have wiped out all of your paper losses. You could have made upwards of 250% in one single trade, and you were just a few hours prior to that more than cut in half. Which brings me to the ultimate lesson of this day with respect to small cap stocks. It ain't over till it's over. How many times have you guys seen, if you've been following me for more than a year, again, 8x, it was 16x in the last 12 months, but we've been brought down to size. How many times have we seen a stock? In fact, it happened with Hellbiz many months ago. They knocked the stock down to 13 cents. The insider started buying, namely the CEO. Then they got on that ridiculous pre-sale for $5 on a $1,600 bike. Dumb retail piles in, runs it all the way to 55. I said, sell it all. Where's it now? 12 cents. Is it a buy? Maybe, but I don't trust the CEO. And when LHDX hit 30 cents last night, I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, it's going to run. It had cleared prior resistance. It was now above what's called the VWAP, the average price of, let's say, those that own the stock in the last month. It was going to run. And it did. It went up another 50% plus to 46 cents on the high. But I refused to buy it. And I was fucking furious. Not because I got swindled, because I believe we did. But because it taps into the EIDL mindset that I've been involved in for the last 2.5 going on 3 years. We fought tooth and nail. Shout out to my friend Speak and See, a great man, along with Ryder over at Skip. We fought for the little guy and gal. We raised collectively between three of us billions. And this guy right here didn't charge anyone a fucking dime, not one penny. And there were many, many nights in the beginning where I answered 500 comments in a single video. Now I can't get any more than 1% of my 75,000 subs to watch, no matter what I say. They won't listen to me today, just as they didn't listen to me yesterday when they could have made, you guessed it, 4 times on their money. Now, did I make that much? No. I didn't see the news announcement. And when I did, I was so furious because I knew it was a switcheroo. Don't tell me they didn't know there was a positive ruling coming. And if they didn't know, why didn't they tell us in the press release when they went bankrupt that there was a possibility of a ruling that was coming? Here's the positive aspect. We could have survived another year or two. The stock would have had some value. We wouldn't have sold. We would have sucked it up, at least for a while. And or, if it's a negative ruling, we're going down with a ship. Fair enough. We were already down 56%. We owned it at 30. It was down at 11, 12 cents a share when I did that video yesterday. So if you own the stock and you own it cheap, God bless you. What a gift. But on Monday morning, and I expect at 4 a.m., and I'll be up to watch, I may even start tweeting, I expect dumb retail money, especially in the pre-market, to goose it. I expect 50 to 75 cents. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the bags are lining up. They are fucking lining up. The Louis V, the LHDX bags, they're lining up. Because just as the case as ENDP, after they announced bankruptcy, they goosed that stock from 24 cents over 50 after. Just like they're goosing LHDX right now. And at some point, people realize, I guess the flu kit isn't going to make a hill of beans in terms of a difference to the bottom line. So what are we left with? We're left with Chapter 11. We're left with bankruptcy. We're left with everybody gone by April the 15th. But you watch, and I'm going to be taking a look at the insider holdings. Somebody's getting out of stock. Somebody's taking advantage of you or the dumb retail money over the course of the next 72 hours to get out. Because you cannot tell me that they didn't know the possibility of, at least, that this was coming. They made no effort whatsoever to tell you, if we do get a positive ruling, we could sustain ourselves. And here's what it could mean to our future. We could have made a decision. In that Thursday press release where he painted a very dark picture, we could have said, you know what, we're down, but let's average down. If they get a positive ruling on this FDA flu kit, which none of us, including me, knew was going to come, or at least this close to a Friday night close, we would have thrown some money in it. And the guy who fired me and thousands more who said, get me out, this is going to zero, wouldn't have gotten bent over the desk without any lube whatsoever. So in closing, the next time we're in the shitter, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're averaging down. It just means it ain't over till it's over. We've had plenty of examples, doubles, triples, quadruples. I talked about Revlon the other day. They announced bankruptcy. The stock tanked to 50 cents. In the following weeks, it went up to $8. It was a 15-bagger. It's still in the fours. It's more than a 8-bagger almost a year later. So it's possible, but this guy right here, who likes to think I have at least an ounce of ethics, I ain't going anywhere near it. And if you're smart, come Monday morning, if they goose this thing up, you say, sayonara, thanks for bailing my ass out of a major pickle, and we're on to the next. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember that I love you, and I thank you so much for watching.